Hey, Decathlon gamer, welcome back to F1 Manager, episode 68. We're heading into the final race weekend on the calendar year. We have secured second place. This is going to be Albin's final race with us before we let him go and bring up Jack Doohan. I do need to start thinking about a replacement for Doohan, but then all of that's going to be happening off-season. Now, off-season wise, I want to get into it in this episode. Therefore, let's go straight into qualifying and, get on with things.
We're at Yas Island in Abu Dhabi for the Formula One Grand Prix. The Yas Marina circuit was completed in 2009, and we've seen a fair share of celebration and commiseration over the years since then. The scenery may be spectacular, but this weekend, all eyes will be on the track. There's a reason why the Yas Marina circuit is used as a test track. The long straights put engine power through its paces, while the twists and bends make medium speed downforce just as important at this challenging circuit. With the season nearly concluded, time is running out for the teams. Can anyone make a last-minute breakthrough? Can the leading drivers hold on? Only time will tell. There's nothing like a race weekend in Formula One.
Fantastic. We're doing our banker lap, and Porsche has locked up on the final corner and gone into the wall. Or just about. Yeah, it is. Final corner. There's pit road entry right there.
Thank goodness nobody else was involved.
Well, let's hope he can continue. Otherwise, he's going to be starting from the back. No, that is car retired. So Porsche is out of qualifying without completing a lap. Therefore, he will start from last place on a track where 12 cars have grid penalties. And that means he could still move back up the order because he's not going to have grid penalties. But he could have been starting, top 5. He won't be from 20th. And Albin was behind him, so I have no idea if Albin's time was impacted. Could have been. He's 0.6 down on signs. Going for the second banker lap, there was 3 cars in our way, and yet we still improved by 0.2. So yes, his time was impacted. He had to slow down when Porsche crashed. And that brings him up to 10th place. Now 11th. And I think we're in the safety zone. We're going to set out this secondary lap and let it be. Let's hope it's enough. Schumacher behind us. There's 2. Uh-oh. Whew. Oh, that was close. 15th. That time was just enough to get through. There's all those penalties, including 3 behind. So Porsche will at least start ahead of those 3. You would imagine Alonso and Vettel as well. But I would think Porsche, I would guess 15th will be his starting grid position. Albin should be moving up a bit higher. The entire front 6 all have grid penalties, plus 3 more cars in between us. And we know he's better than 15th. Albin's banker lap was good enough for 7th. We go on a fresh set for our second and final run here in Q2, and so far the lap looks just fine. I don't see any mistakes. And it's 9th. Bottas bumps us to 10th.
Sounds like a spin.
What a great lap. How is everybody already done and we get bumped to 11th? I missed something in the mix there. Everybody was already done. Everybody had already taken the checkered flag, and somebody behind us gets a second lap in and bumps us. We get 11th out in Q2. Albin, not a good lap from him there. Definitely was off the pace. We were 7th in Q2 with, 7th in the first run. We go out with the fresh set, and that was, first one out on track. Track's getting faster as you go. Here, we're on the tail end, and he only gets 11th. So really poor lap from Albin, not what he was capable of. He should have been running in the top 10. So poor qualifying from Albin, and an even worse one from Porsche. Neither car makes it to Q3. But with those grid penalties, both will be moving up a fair bit of positions, and it at least does save us some tires for the race.
It's race day with the teams and drivers ready and raring to go.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. It was a pleasure to watch Red Bull's excellent performance during qualifying. Their drivers will now be looking ahead to the race itself and hoping to capitalize. And the sky is looking grey and cloudy today. An effective tyre strategy could prove very valuable as the race plays out.
And teams will have to make tough split-second decisions here if they're going to succeed. An exhilarating race lies ahead of us with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Last race of the year, nothing to save parts for. Porsche starting further back, so I'm going to go medium, hard medium, a little more conservative, pitting a little bit later so that the track can kind of open up and evolve in front of him. But for Albon, we're going soft, hard, medium, a little more aggressive as he's starting from 6th place, Porsche from 14th. So Porsche was even one spot better than I figured when I figured 15th. But that means we are not going to go light on fuel and conserve. We want to go a little more aggressive and try to make some overtakes along the way, as some cars will opt for a one-stop strategy, but goes deep enough that the one-stopper is supposedly going to be slower than the two-stopper, as the drop-off in time is going to be such that that longevity of those stints is going to cost you more time than it would be for an extra pit stop.
It's a cloudy night tonight, but otherwise the weather looks good for the race. Here we have Alexander Albon. A top 10 position today, but will they be able to capitalize on it? And looking at the second Williams car, they're in the back half of the pack, so they'll need to work hard if they want a podium finish. The race start is mere seconds away. Hold on tight, it's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
All right, so this is going to be a quick race. I have every intention of making this a quick race, so let's get on to it. I don't think we're going to be spending any time at times 1 speed. We're going to be pushing along. We're going to be doing a lot of sped up things because I want to do
a new position just gained
most,
by Williams,
if not all of the off season in this episode. Albon, great starting position behind the two McLarens and the two Red Bulls and Sainz. We're ahead of Leclerc at least, where all race weekend the Ferrari looked very competitive. So seeing Leclerc down a little bit is good. Albon already up a spot into 5th as we've gotten around one McLaren so far, and already putting the other under pressure. Porsche right where, no, he's up a spot from where he started as well. Looks like we've gotten ahead of Gasly, and we're all over the back of Alonso right now. Already taking a look at, trying to get up one more spot in the short term. For him, I think we can also probably get Magnussen. I would think, as Magnussen should be off pace a little bit. Once we get into about 11th, we'll want Porsche to settle in. But meanwhile, Albon, if we can get up to 4th, that would be a good start for him for this first stint, and then kind of settle in and let those soft compounds in that quicker tire keep us out front. Definitely over the back of him, and here is Porsche coming through on Alonso and completes that overtake.
We have DRS.
DRS now enabled, and like I said, he's got one more guy to go, so we're going to keep going, keep pushing, and we have one more guy to go here as well. So both of them continue pushing for a little bit longer, but that's already 2 full laps that we have pushed. But like I said, we are going for that 2-stopper, and therefore overtakes are paramount. They're essential to our strategy here. All over the back of the McLaren, but not yet able to make a pass. We've already caught up to Magnussen, as we did have some ground to cover after the overtake on Alonso. And we have DRS now. Magnussen does not. This could and should be an easy overtake. We do get up beside him, and we've got that overtake complete. And now we will settle in. But we are 1.7 behind Russell, so Pourchaire has a little bit of a problem here. That's going to be a challenge. Fastest lap for Pourchaire, now in P11. Albin still P5. We may have to settle in. Norris seems to not want to be overtaken. So let's go ahead and settle in for the long haul and accept that it's P5.
Yep, okay.
Having a look to the inside, but you can see Norris just has enough, with DRS anyway, enough straight line speed that we can't quite seem to get up on him. Magnussen has gone back around Pourchaire. That whole DRS thing is hurting us quite a bit. And of course now it's 2.5 seconds instead of 1.7. Ocon starting to lose Hamilton. If that's the case, that's going to back these two up a little bit and give us a chance to get back up there. Ricardo at least does have a 2-second gap, so this back group is a little bit off the pace. AlphaTauri, really, really poor starting position for them. Alright, well, now that we've settled in, let's speed things up as intended. Partially, one of the reasons why I'm doing this, not just that I want to get off-season in, but the acknowledgement, the awareness that as Pourchaire got back around Magnussen, Alonso also followed him through, so back up into P11, but 4 seconds down. Russell, Ocon, though, are back off of Hamilton, so Russell got around Ocon after Ocon lost DRS. But anyway, we've got second in the constructors locked up. We've got second in the drivers locked up.
Looks
it's not going to change today.
Therefore,
there's no concerns. There's no worries. We were closing that gap, by the way. We had gotten to within 3 seconds of those guys in front, so Pourchaire was gaining. But with DRS, Alonso ends up going through and goes right back out to 4 seconds. So Pourchaire is faster than Alonso, but DRS is faster than no DRS. So when we're ahead, we're gaining. When he's ahead, we're losing ground.
Alfa Romeo just moved up a place.
Already at 51% for Albin. Are we the only ones that have opted for this strategy? Let's find out. No, we are not. Sainz and Norris both on the softs. Hamilton, Russell, and Magnussen all on the softs. No wonder Magnussen is on the faster side of things, and you can see Albin already coming up on that pit window. Sector 3, yellow flag. Somebody ran wide. Looks like last turn that they ran wide. And there's a big holdup at the back group. It's Gasly. Gasly holding up those back three as he rejoined the track in front of those two cars. So you can see the first 6 cars are going to be pitting here in the next couple of laps. Albin, as long as we're able to keep up with these guys, you might as well keep going because, well, Sainz and Norris are going to pit, but I guess we won't be coming out with them. Multiple cars have crashed, and it's just safety car. Safety car. Alonso has overtaken Pourchaire, but safety car.
Okay, it's a safety car.
Means we pit right now. Hard compound for Albin. It's a couple laps early. We're going to have to stretch things now, but pitting under these conditions are ideal.
DRS is currently disabled.
Pourchaire, do we want to change strategies and pit as well? It's early, but I mean, come on, Albin's pitting right now. We're going to do it. Yeah, pit window isn't for another 5 laps, but we're going to take advantage of the safety car. Because there's going to be plenty that do not pit.
Let's have a look. Now just focus on the Haas.
And we've got an attempted overtake. And that's 3 cars collected, I think. So you had the AlphaTauri to the inside of the Alpine, and then you have the lockup behind. And I think he collected all 3. Sainz, Norris into the pits. Those on the softs are opting to pit right now, but those on the mediums look like they're staying out. So I expect 7 guys into the pits, plus whoever survives. Sonoda and Guan Yu Zhou are both out of the race. Ricardo was the Alpine. He's going to be entering the pits as well, and it's definitely more than 6 cars, but it's mostly those that are on the soft compounds that are pitting right now. So Albin comes out in P10. Pourchaire is going to come out in P16. Sainz and Norris still ahead of Albin, but otherwise he's in the same virtual position. But the front 7 all have to pit still, and they're not going to be a pit stop away. So those on the hard compound are going to be moving up. So Albin might be in a virtual P3 now. As we go into the restart from P10, P6, I am not going as aggressive as I would normally on a restart, because we are now in a situation where we're going to have to stretch a bit to get to the end of the race on this hard to now medium the rest of the way. So these tires do need to last. I really don't want their pace to drop off. So instead of fighting for positions like we were thinking about before, now went a little aggressive on the fuel just to make sure we didn't get overtaken. But that's it, as Pourchaire is losing a freaking position. And that was not from the restart. I mean, that was just poor driving there. Magnussen got up on the inside of him. He was all over the back of Russell, and he just got straight beat. All right, well, already settling in. We do have some spare fuel to use at some point. But for now, like I said, this is not the time where I want to be trying to make overtakes. This. And now is those pit stops. We have the pit stops. Albin up to P4. Verstappen has not stopped yet. Pourchaire up to P8. And Perez, the first guy to pit, is 9 seconds behind us. So here's what I was talking about. Now we're at 82%. They're all going to be at fresh tires, but this is making a pretty sizable on-track difference. And you know, us, like them, have one stop to go. They're just going to have a bit of a tire advantage at some point and gain on us, but how will they be able to overtake as Verstappen relinquishes the lead? And he's also going to come out, looks like possibly behind that group or just in front. He's still just in front. So Verstappen ahead of Perez. So he gets the undercut. Sun setting. Pourchaire just inside 10 seconds of race leader Sainz. Albin has gone around Norris into P2, but now with a 3.5 second gap, he's probably going to get overtaken. And you got a 3-car train: Albin, Norris, Hamilton, and then you have Magnussen, Russell, Pourchaire, 3-car train. Really like to see Russell or Pourchaire at the front of this and not Magnussen. Magnussen should not have the best speed, but for whatever reason, he is overtaking very well today. And then, yeah, there's that chase group at 18 seconds behind. That's a pretty healthy gap that will come down. I mean, and Sainz is pulling away just a bit. Sector 3, yellow. Didn't see it. Whoever it was
like
quick.
Been a lockup.
Vettel. Vettel with the lockup. We're not racing him. Safety car. Vettel must have put it in the wall. Well, it's definitely not time to pit. Well, this sucks because there goes your advantage, and these guys are going to have better tires. but it's way
There's been a
too
crash.
early.
Sounds like a single car.
Schumacher
Take a
crashed.
look now.
That almost
Right,
had taken
watch
out
this.
Schumacher.
There's Schumacher.
We look at reducing the lift and
Restarting the race here from P2, Albin. At least we've caught up to Sainz, and we'll get the benefit of DRS with him. And that's all the push we're going to do with Albin, as I don't think we're going to beat Sainz for speed. But Pourchaire,
Okay.
Pourchaire can beat Russell, maybe. I mean, we're competitive with Mercedes, and he could definitely beat Magnussen. I'd love to see us get up a spot or two, especially with the two Red Bulls behind us that you know eventually, and somehow Verstappen is already back up the 2 spots that he had lost. He's back up in the P8 ahead of both Perez and Leclerc. But with Pourchaire, yeah, having those guys behind is a danger. It's a danger to his health. It's a danger to his position. I'd love to see him go forward. And forward he is going to go. We've gotten around Russell. No progress. Perez has gone back around Verstappen. And then, meanwhile, the other thing to think about is when we do make our stop and switch to the mediums, as Hamilton loses DRS, so Magnussen makes his way forward again. And ooh, we nearly go up the inside. We've seen what happens when you go up the inside right there. You just put it right off the track, don't you?
Keep pushing. Keep pushing.
And we're going to get up to the inside of Hamilton. And that's Pourchaire into P5. Nice. Albin all over the back of Sainz, but overtake failed. That's good that he's over the back of him. Anyway, what I was trying to say is when we do switch to the
And a
mediums,
new position.
we're going to be
just gained
pitting
by Williams.
earlier than the other guys. But we're going to have a pace advantage at that time. We're going to undercut. We're going to go out there and be quicker. And whatever pace advantage they had early in this stint, they're going to be on the later portion of the stint where the hard compound is going to be slower. The fresh mediums are going to be significantly faster, and we're going to cover a lot of ground so that by the time they do pit, they're going to be behind us by a good margin. Now, late on, yes, they're going to be gaining, but overtakes are a different matter. And if we are P2 and P5 with, guys behind, in Albin more so, but in Pourchaire's case as well, if there's cars behind us on the same set, then we have a bit of a cushion between us and them. Plus, we have the spare fuel to push.
That's a new
Multiple
race
cars have
position for Haas.
crashed. Safety car coming out again. Well, that's Sainz's race messed up. So both will pit this lap.
DRS is currently disabled. DRS is
That whole
currently
Magnussen
disabled.
overtake is hurting
Here's the
us
replay.
at this point.
We're just watching the Red Bull.
Oh, it's Perez. It's Perez who spun and then gets
You can
wiped out
clearly
by
see
the Aston
contact
Martin.
there, and that
And
caused
I believe
a
that's
lot
the
of damage.
damaged Aston Martin. So Perez is out of the race, and Stroll has picked up a penalty, and Ricardo is way off the pace, and Sainz is way to the back because he pit a lap before all of this. And now we're gaining an advantage again. We'll see how many cars opt to pit. Norris, Magnussen both into the pits. Verstappen does not. Verstappen stays out. So our group is all pitting. Albin now in the front of the group, since Sainz had already pit a lap earlier. Can we get back out though? No, we're held up. We're held up. We're gonna be P2. Norris is. So we are back to a virtual P2, but it's Norris instead of Sainz. Sainz resets to virtual P4 after pitting a lap earlier. Pourchaire almost gets out ahead of Sainz, but he'll come out just behind him. That's a virtual P5. And that other group once again finds itself in the situation where they are going to pit in 5 or 6 laps. And we get up to the inside, but now outside and outside again, but we're able to hold it there to Norris, and we eventually do get around and are already up behind Vettel now, the first of those hard compounds. So now we have an advantage with fresh mediums over used hards. Could be on a one-stopper strategy. You see a clear advantage though, as we're already 1.5 seconds ahead of Vettel. Whoa, we almost hit Gasly. We came up so fast on him, and there's a crash ahead of us. We're seeing debris flying around. Safety car's out again, and definitely not pitting. We're done pitting for the race. This is the first time since Australia we've seen so many crashes and DNFs. Sainz is involved here. Haas is going to lock up and just slam into him. Things seem to have been bunching up there, and that was just behind us. Ooh, fire! Fire! Sainz. And we ride with Albon as we follow Gasly and Alonso. We're going to look for some early overtakes here with that medium advantage. Got everything turned up, going aggressively. And I do believe that the front 6 are going for the one-stopper. So those used hards are going to definitely be down for pace. But medium-wise, at 80%, we don't have a lot of time to make the overtakes before we ourselves lose whatever pace advantage we're going to have. So we need overtakes earlier rather than later. And here is Albon going for the first one. He gets Gasly to the outside, but with Alonso just ahead, are we going to finish the move? It looks like yes. And that is P6 now for Albon. Pourchaire meanwhile still in P11.
Just gained by
behind Hamilton. Just on the back of him. He's so close there. And we get up the inside of Alonso, and that is going to be P5. I think he's still to our outside, just maybe? No, we've got space now. And there's Ocon closely ahead, looking for P4, and this could be the time to make that one happen as well. Not quite. Not enough straight line advantage, even with the medium versus hard compound, but now we get it. On secondary straight, we're going to be on the outside, though, through the horseshoe, and then on we go. Up to P4. Up to P4. Already down to 73%, though. 10 laps, though. 10 laps to run.
Use DRS.
And that used that up, though.
That's a stonking lap.
New fastest lap. And Pourchaire is up to P10. We've gotten around Hamilton. We are now on back of Vettel. Vettel's definitely somebody we can get an overtake done on, as he's Albon in a great position here. Can we take advantage? This is not a very long straight, though, to try to make a move. We're going to get Bottas to the outside, but we tuck back in. And then there's that lack of straight line speed. You can see how they start the straightaway just a little bit better than us. We're on the medium compound, they're on the hards. We should have better traction. We should have better exits, but we don't. And that is the lack of acceleration and top speed in our car compared to theirs. But finally, we do get up the inside of Bottas, but the battery is pretty well wasted. See what happens. And there you go. Yes, perfectly timed. Perfectly timed. And now we're up behind those two again. And we're going to head into the next straight with not a strong
and a new
enough position.
Just gained by Williams.
So Porsche back into P9 and behind the two slower cars now and very close to him. Meanwhile, Albon's still very close to these two, with Leclerc leading from Verstappen now. 53 of 58. Porsche's got a better chance on Alonso here down the straight.
Yes.
As Alonso's getting Gasly, the DRS, but can we also get Gasly? No, we decide to tuck in instead of continuing on. And then we're going to try to get Gasly here instead. We are up beside him though, and we should have him with a double left-hander coming up. And we do. And that's going to be P8 for Porsche. Can we also get Alonso? You know, 42% for hard versus 47% for medium. Hard's going to have better pace at that point than the medium will. The drop-off on a soft is severe. Drop-off on a medium is intense. Drop-off on a hard is definitely more minor.
It's a good job.
It's going to hold its pace a bit better. But Porsche does eventually get through. And we'll go standard. We will go neutral. We will keep the engine turned
back off.
up. Albon! Albon into the lead. Albon into the lead. That's the Porsche overtake. That's not the one I wanted to see. We just went into the race lead and missed it. That's leader gap. 3.7. The guys in front. There is Verstappen all over the back of us. We need to use it for defend after all. Can we go out this season with a race win? 2 laps. Final lap. The battery empty.
Yes. Okay, you're starting the final lap.
Porsche, meanwhile, definitely not going forward any more than he is. Barely has any battery. We can have him go aggressive at least. Hamilton just 3/10 behind him.
Happy to push.
Verstappen in a strong position. He is so close to us. So close as we go through here. And this is the last one. If we can hold him off down this straight. If we are still ahead going into this now horseshoe. And we are. That should do it. That should do it. Last race of the year. Alexander Albon will go out a race winner,
So that's the flag.
beating the champion Max Verstappen.
So,
Leclerc takes
sticking with
third,
me.
Bottas fourth, Norris
Should
fifth,
be proud of that one,
Ocon
mate.
sixth.
Well done.
Porsche is going to hang on for P7 with Hamilton
Check it, flag.
P8. Not bad recovery from qualifying last. Yes, we have a little bit of a bonus to start P14, but he definitely started from a ways behind and had a lot of competitive cars on the same strategy ahead of us, where Albon had one. He had Sainz ahead, and then Sainz pit that lap early, and then it was Norris ahead. And all he had to do was get around that one car, and then it was a matter of beating those on a different strategy. And Albon managed to do it. Porsche made progress, but by the time you make the progress, the field's stretched. And, you know, at that point, the gaps were way too
What a pleasure
big.
it was to
Oh my goodness, I forgot that they had passed double points for the last race. Boy, that changed things a little bit. Good thing we succeeded. In Pourchaire's case, Leclerc gets him on that final race after finishing P3, and so Pourchaire finishes 5th, but we had overtaken Sainz. Leclerc jumps from 7th to 4th, so ultimately Pourchaire was in the same position, just 1 point behind Leclerc, just 10 points behind Perez. So we're very much in the mix in that hunt, where Albon was very clear as the P2 in the end, especially with that race win. In the constructors, Red Bull takes it, 567 points. We have 450 this year and finish P2 with a more than 100 point advantage thanks to the double points in that last race over Ferrari. Mercedes finish 4th, just ahead of McLaren, just 9 points clear of McLaren. Alpine clear, comfortable in P6 with 198. AlphaTauri with 124. Alfa Romeo finished the season with 68 points, while Aston Martin do pick up a couple points today, get 27 on the season, and Haas just 14 points, but everybody managing to score some points this year. Final driver comparison here at the end of the race. You can see the XP gained. Pourchaire, it's not as high as it used to be, but he's at a 1.79 growth potential. It's going to be new next year. It's going to drop a little bit since he has moved up, but it should still be, like 1.6 or better. And for that, the guy only finished in 7th place and qualified dead last and still got 1800 XP. Albon wins the race. Did not partake in FP1, so yeah, there's a few points there, but wins the race. Does far better in qualifying and still only manages 993 because his growth potential is under 1. It's not terrible. That's not a terrible rating. He's an okay driver and he's made progress and he's good and he's clearly done better than Pourchaire this season, but it's that rate of development and just the general cost. Where Doohan does FP1 and nothing else and nearly scores as many points as Albon in the XP department, has much higher growth potential, is already better than Pourchaire, at least similar to Pourchaire, and once we start putting him into the race, you're going to see this. So much cheaper. There are reasons to want to hang on to Albon. There's reasons to want to go out and get Hamilton as your driver. But there's also something to be said about taking 2 young guys and turn them into race winners, especially with the absurdly slow development rate of this game. I said I had a target of 20 million or more as a minimum, and we've done it. We were at 20.2 million. We also still have one more turn of the month ahead of us, but we also have some car part development that's about to take place, and so we'll be spending some of that money, but I think we'll be at about 23 million come January 1st. Hopefully that is enough to get us through. Finishing second in the constructors should also come with a pretty healthy payout that might just about be in good enough shape to not have development stall in the preseason. Suspension research done. We may have enough time to get another short project in on one of those 3 minor components before the end of the... And the last chassis research project for the year, we can turn everything up to max, and it's actually going to get done before New Year's, even with just the 1 engineer assigned up to this point. So we only had 3 available. That's going to be done a week before. There's not any additional projects that we're going to be able to do, but that's progress, because you can see in terms of the car performance, we're gaining a little bit more, just a little bit, inching our way along, and engine cooling at least is going to take a healthy boost, another 2.5% there, up to 65. Okay, so the board performance review, and I think I'm going to target this time to now start making the move for Jack Doohan for next year. Target position 4th, final position 2nd, podiums 25%. This was future long-term objective. It was a new one just established this year. We already accomplished it in year number 1. Constructors and drivers 2nd and 2nd, and so that team rating at the moment shows to be the same, but I would imagine it's going to go up for next year. Should go up. I don't think it's been calculated just yet. But 1.5 million team bonus, that's good. And that team rating should go higher, hopefully. Starting contract negotiations with Doohan. The initial upfront was 500K. I think we can start a little bit higher. We've got some cushion. We can make bigger, more rapid jumps. But pushing him into car number 2, 3 years, $1 million, with very small bonuses. This is one of those cost savers that makes it really easy to go out and put money into facilities and the car. Oh, he's even happy with the money. Contract accepted, just like that. So we are moving on to Jack Doohan, and that means we do need a new reserve driver. And in something that's a little bit more of a joke than anything else, I've gone ahead and hired Logan Sargent as our reserve driver. For anybody who actually follows the sport, you know why. It's somewhat of a joke, as at least in game, he really doesn't have much potential. He's a 76. He's certainly not a bad driver, but quartering needs some work. Smoothness needs some work, and his adaptability and kind of general overtaking. But growth potential is only average. Aggression is low, but he's cheap. So we are now looking at a scenario where contract-wise, our finances are going to be a lot better on the driver front going forward, as we have 3 young drivers on the books. And there is that confirmation. So we now have Pourchaire and Doohan in the 2 cars, with Sargent as the reserve driver, and still 21 million, as we are still a week away from December, so we'll still get that turn of the month, as well as we got a bonus from the team for our performance from the board, for our performance for the year, and still have a fair bit of that left over. Changes for the upcoming year: fastest lap gone, double points last race, happy to see that one is gone, but also a drastic change to the points system that sees us fall back on the antiquated system that really not a fan of. We're down to points for just the top 8 drivers, with 10, 8, 6 before then going individual points on down through 8th place. This system sucks. I really hate this system. I think even that the current model is something that could go a different direction for the better. Cost cap going up by 5 million. They passed like everything proposed this year. I voted against quite a few of them, so not a big fan of all the changes coming for next year. But chassis, airflow, and cooling dropping. Of course, we've been working on that through research for a while, and you can see that cooling is taking 30% drops, where airflow is taking 10% drops. And we've reached the end of the season, so we are turning over the year. There's going to be some changes. Let's see what they are. Our team rating is now got us up to 4th. So we are moving up, because we were, I believe, 9th in that first season. So we've definitely moved up. Our main fund, I don't remember what the direct comparison was to last year, but I'm pretty sure it's up a fair bit. We'll have to check on our sponsorship obligations for the year. I'm not going to go flat out, all out into finances. For one thing, it's a much smaller chunk than what the main fund provides anyway. So we are going to try our best to cut back on it just a little bit for the upcoming year, so that drivers can develop. Going a bit towards the minimum route, sponsorship obligation wise, we could easily bring in another, I'd say, 10 million over the course of the season. And 10 million is handy, but the main fund is now making up the difference for that, I think, and therefore we can cut back on those sponsor obligations and see the young drivers develop, because, well, we want to win a championship with these guys, and it's going to be a lot harder if we are focused only on the cash and their development is stunted. We want rapid development, so we want minimum necessary, and therefore let them get out there and practice and develop and focus. Preseason lump sum is going to be 13.5 million. Our income per race 4.5 million as we go through the season on that setup. We're at 32 million right now, so That's already going to put us at about 45, but of course we're going to spend half of that right up front on an engine. Our objective for the upcoming year is the same. They want us 4th or above, and the long term is the podium contender, 25%. Is that not changing, or is that just a review of what the old one was? Is it just me, or does this make this look like they're taking away whatever balance we had from the end of the year? It says balance 0, and then sponsor funding 13.5, board payments 8, entry fee -3, and that's going to bring us 18 million. Do we start with 18.5, or do we start with 18.5 on top of? So are we going to be at 50, or are we going to be at 18.5? Season prize share, of course, is a big factor, and we've gone from bringing in 40 million to 73, up from 58 a year ago. So prize money, big deal. I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to be making the change in the engine department this year, and here's why. So first off, Red Bull is the most powerful, 5% stronger than the Ferrari engine that we've been using the last 2 seasons, but the power loss threshold, the power loss threshold is higher, meaning the power loss is going to begin to fall off at 85% below. So that's not necessarily a good thing. It's going to lose power sooner. But wear resistance is also worse, so that's not necessarily good. But the thermal resistance is better. The fuel efficiency is terrible. But the gearbox durability is certainly better, 10% better, where the ERS sucks. There's some bad things that kind of happen here that, I don't know, it just makes me want to stick with the Ferrari engine that we've been using the last couple of years. The trade-offs, what you get out of it. The Mercedes, the Renault just don't have enough power. And with our deficiencies, the power is a big deal. But those other areas, this is kind of the most consistent of the engines. Let's stick with Ferrari. We know what we're working with on that one. And that's going to eat up 20 million. That's going to drop us from our balance of 32 down to 12. But with those other various payments, remember we had 13 coming in. That just about balances it out. So no, it didn't just take everything away. So as we enter January 1st, we are at 23 million. So our balance is just about where we kind of left off at, really, with the turn of the month plus those finances. It covered the 20 million. Getting into the new drivers for the year, we'll look at that one first. So, of course, we have Porsche and Doohan now instead of Albon. Red Bull have made a change. Carlos Sainz comes over from Ferrari into that second seat with Piastri as their reserve driver. Ferrari, Perez has swapped. So Sainz and Perez have swapped with Giovinazzi as the backup there, with Ocon and Russell at Mercedes. If you remember, Ocon was a Mercedes reserve driver. I don't know if he still has ties to Mercedes or not. I don't remember for sure off the top of my head. Nick DeVries is their reserve. In McLaren, Bottas and Norris with Rashor as their backup, with Ricciardo and Gasly at Alpine, Oliver Bearman as their reserve. AlphaTauri has Mick Schumacher and Guan Yu Zhou, with Vesti as the reserve. Alfa Romeo have Albon, so Albon has moved to Alfa Romeo. He has found a seat. They also have Kevin Magnussen with Callum Williams as their reserve driver. Aston Martin has Lance Stroll, Sebastian Vettel, and Stoffel Van Dorn as the reserve, while Haas have Sonoda and Latifi. Oh my, they are gonna be slow. And Hauger as their reserve. Poor Haas, man, oh man. You can sense a 10th place coming for them this year. In our first internal look at the car, it's going to have better top speed. It's going to have slightly more acceleration, but all of that is just a little bit better. But the cornering is going to start the year better than it left off, with decent upgrades in cornering. DRS, top speed, just about same, but slightly faster. Acceleration is worse, but it's actually the same in terms of the G's. It's just about equivalent. Dirty air quartering, low speed is going to be a little bit better. Medium speed is going to be a little bit better, and top speed, high speed cornering is less than a 10th percentage point worse. And then, of course, the big changes were in the cooling. So our brake cooling is going to drop by 9%, and our engine cooling is going to drop by just over 10%. We've made some pretty good gains on that this year, but it's gone. Considering the regulation changes, that was the 30%. The 10% we've already covered off. And we covered off a fair bit of that 30%, I suppose. I mean, a 10% drop from 72 is, 1/7. That's a lot less than 30%. First round of upgrades that I'm going to do, I'm going to put only minor hours into all of them. I want them to be done fairly quickly, but we're going to put 5 engineers, so 15, spread out 3 different components. And we're going to take those easy ones, the chassis, the suspension, the side pods. They'll take about a month, but I'm going to go intense for all of them. It's going to increase the cost of the approach, but it's going to make future upgrades that much better. We're going to get a big bonus on the part expertise. And then we'll turn around and do kind of a rushed one second and see, what sort of progress we can make out of them that way. Still on the 1st of January, Porsche has picked up a development point, and that last point of control now gives him a 79 overall rating. So just as we go to start the season, that's 80, 80, 83. So we've got the 80 plus in all of these areas, which means for a little while anyway, I'm going to make some investment into racecraft. I want to get overtaking to a 70. I'd like to get adaptability a few points, and then we'll kind of start redistributing points a little more evenly after that. Get all of these to an 81, and then go back and pick up a point or two down here, and then get all of these to an 82, and then get some points down there. Just kind of gradually build him up across the board. Growth potential is still high. I don't know what the actual rate is until we get to kind of the end of the first race weekend, but it hasn't drastically fallen off or anything. Brief look at the driver market. The top 2 drivers without a seat are 2 of the 3 most expensive ones. Verstappen plus Hamilton and Alonso apparently are in a not retired form of retirement. As you can see, all the other top guys all still manage to have seats, on down through F1. Callum Williams at a 74 and Latifi at a 71. And how Latifi has a main seat, I don't know, but besides Haas, we do technically have the worst driver lineup out there. Liam Lawson is the first free agent down at a 69. Mary Aitken are without seats. I've also pushed Mason up to a 77 overall. For now, I've been focusing more on underfloor than other areas. He's weak at everything, and it's kind of that one spot that, if we're going to make a change, that's the one that I should probably change, because he just does not give us a very healthy bonus as technical chief. Brief look back at our 3 seasons so far, and we're going to be wrapping this episode up as we go into the preseason and the first race for the next episode. And we've covered a good amount of territory here for this one. So season 1, we had 4 points for the entire season, 3 10th place finishes, and a fastest lap bonus. We spent $50 million on the car that year, 122 on facilities development. In year 2, we spent $52 million on the car, with 107 in facilities development, and contracts went up from $23 million to $29. We had 2 wins and 7 podiums for a total of 238 points. This last year, that number jumped to 450 points. We went from 2 wins to 5 wins in that third year, and then 12 podiums, up from 7. We're going to look to exceed that this year. I don't know how competitive we're going to be when it comes to Red Bull, but I do think we can easily finish second. But how much more can we do? We're going to try to see if we can win the championship. I just don't know if we're going to be there actually yet this season. But the car development went only 2 million higher than it did the year before, and facilities development went up by 60 million, with contracts going up by a couple million. We're going to be down on contracts a little bit this year with Albin gone and out, so that's going to give us a chance to do more. Facilities development is also something that there's not much left to do, which means we're going to be trying to put a lot more into the car for this season, which car development's already at 24 million. Facilities development is much lower, and contracts so far is starting at a low scale. But our team rating has gone up by nearly 200 points from last year. Heritage, of course, is the same. That's not changed. But drivers' results, huge boost, where we had 8 points in previous years. We got 62 last season for finishing second, and now that's 70 in the drivers' results category. And then in the constructors' results category, huge boost to our score really the last 2 years, where we had very low. We were 10th in that 2020 season, or the team was 10th, and that's big jump, big jump. And we've gone from noteworthy to the revered category, and are 10 points shy of leader. That is going to do it for this episode, though, and conclusion to the season. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.